Hey, something. People are fighting. Sounds like a couple. You know, for a person like me, hearing people argue is so triggering. But it's not like these people care because they're probably doing it in front of their children. I mean, there are children even next door, but do they care? No. They they probably have children inside with them, watching all of it, witnessing everything. But that doesn't stop them. I had recorded this version before, but the microphone did not did not work. So after, I believe it was 37 minutes in length, I realized that there was no audio. So I was quite upset because I was like, oh, okay, now I'm not sure if I can tell the story the same way I did before. But, that footage was useless. It had no audio. So then I started this one, and then you hear people fighting. And this is literally what I spoke about in that video, and those occurrences. When adults just start doing things in front of the children like they're not there, like they're a bunch of little idiots that don't know what you're saying, can't hear what you're saying, or can't compute that there's danger in the situation. And it's scary for a little kid to hear mom and dad go at it, especially if one of them wants to be more dominating than the other one. Their tactics would be cruel, their tactics will be painful because they want to enforce their way. And it's like you either get with it or you suffer the consequences. And that's very scary. That's very scary for a child. Like I said, I'm almost 50, and when I hear people argue, there's this thing inside me that takes me back to being like 4 or 5 years old and just listening to the scariness that having, adults argue makes. It's a huge hoorah, like it's a huge display. It's not ignored. It's not like people can't hear us or kids don't know what we're doing. They feel it, and that's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, I always go back to what Keanu Reeves says in the movie Parenthood, that you need a license for to drive a car, to own a gun, hell, even to have a dog, you need a license for. Yet, any idiot can have a baby. Some people shouldn't have children because they don't know how to work with them, deal with them. I've seen many times when, you know, especially in the rough neighborhood, sometimes that I've lived, and this one as well. I'm talking about this one that I live currently in, because you know, because there seemed to be the fame that this is a rough neighborhood, and so that if you live in it, you have to be rough as well, and because apparently they're teaching the children to be rough and tough. No, it just teaches them to comply to a bigger fish, to someone who's yelling at them, someone who's threatening them, someone who's making them feel badly, someone who's, forecasting, a lot of pain and suffering if they don't get with the program. If you don't do something that you probably don't even want to do, you don't feel comfortable in doing it, this is what you're being required to do as a child. I was walking my baba, and I saw this mom. I think they were living in the van, to tell you the truth. They were in this van, and they were sitting there, and you could tell they were hot because they've been sitting there for quite some time. That's what it looked like. And this mom is going off on their boys. It's like, you motherfucking 32. It's just like, as if she's doing them a favor for speaking to them so badly. And obviously, if you were to say anything to to the situation, they probably just been like, you shut the fuck, I would have been, completely obliterated verbally by this lady, because obviously there are children. I'm not gonna expose the children to more toxicity. So I just let that, I just kept on walking, and I just started thinking, how is that good parenting? But these women, especially that type of woman, will believe that, well, this is what parenting is. This is how it's done. Because otherwise, these kids just start climbing, disrespecting you, and you got to show these motherfucking kids who's boss. You know what that reminds me of? My grandmother. My grandmother, who was an animal, was a beast when it came to children. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but she used to ride my brother a lot. And during the time when we were living in Ocampo Alley, which was only a block away from her house, we were hanging out there a lot, because of my uncles, who were the same age as we were. And our gang always met there, so just to have my grandmother, come out and be so nasty to all of us, including her own kids, and she didn't have a nice thing to say about anybody or anything, she was just a very unhappy woman. And everybody just got in line with it, as if, oh no, well, she raises you with a tough hand, or whatever however the saying goes. The point is that a lot of her people respect people who treat their children like shit. Because, that lady is handling business, kids must have done something. No, sometimes it's just the adult is an asshole. Sometimes the adult has absolutely no reason doing, or no purpose doing close to children, and people like that shouldn't be around children, to tell you the truth. Again, anybody can have a baby, but what I saw a woman who just could care less what your feelings were, could care less if you were a child, could care less if you could take it or not, could care less about your feelings, about anything. She was in the right, and she was doing the right thing, because all she was doing is trying to get her boys right, or trying to, serve a lesson or be educational. Like, this was something that we should always just be paying attention to. Oh, this is how you raise children. It's sickening to the way, looking at it back, because The fact of the matter is that these people have absolutely no clue how to raise children. They're violent, they're angry, they're explosive. Would you leave your child next to people like that or with people like that? No, of course not, right? But they, again, everybody got in line like it was normal, and I think this is why I am the way I am, because I saw attracted, people behave that way, and I always thought that's not right. That's not right. There's only one person could cause so much pain and suffering and havoc, create so much havoc. One person, and everybody just lines up with it. I say, well, this is the way it is, or we have to put up with it because she's right. Like this woman was placed in a pedestal as if she was God. And that's when I started noticing that my parents were doing the same thing. And I remember, going to the store all pissed up because it's like, what the hell would adults do without children, without, them being lazy and sending their children to go get them stuff at the store? Because, Javi, go get something at the store. I'm like, oh, I felt like Eugene from, that movie. What's that called? It's such a great movie. Memoirs. Such a great movie. Eugene, and then you had to go to the store. It's like I think he says the same thing. I don't know what parents would do without sending their children to the store. It's like, what would they do? I mean, they'd probably be lost. It's such a funny movie. Check it out if you have a chance. If I can remember the name, I'd give it to you, but you probably know which one I'm talking about. It's actually the story of a writer. In fact, he wrote a play about it, that specific play. I love the masturbation scene. I did that in college, and I love doing that scene because I was playing the older brother, and they have this conversation about masturbation. He's asking questions to his older brother. But anyway, yeah, I've always been of the opinion that if you can't handle children, don't have them. If you're going to be nasty and horrible, then don't have them around you. You losing it because the children are being loud or just being children, that's not on them. That's on you. You're the short-tempered psycho who has to get violent and loud and insult and hurt people, because you don't have the patience. Yeah, a lot of the times it's like, oh, that teacher is very strict, or that parent is very strict. No. They're just short-fused. I don't fall for it that, oh, well, they're strict, so they're always in a bad mood. No, they're just assholes. Oh, that parent is such a strict parent. No, they're just assholes. Because you don't have to treat your children that way. You don't have to be an ogre to them. You don't have to be a dictator in their lives. And a lot of parents, because the idea is that we come from our parents. So I brought you to this world, I can take you out. It's like, bitch. I'm sorry, but this is the way I refer to parents that miss the point. That if God bless you with children, you better treat them like they're jewels. Like they're the most valuable thing you've ever received, because they are a gift from God. It's like the way I look at my Baba. I know that God sent me that little guy. And that reminds me that there is a God, that there is angels, that there is a divine power watching over me and in my life. Fixing whatever needs to get fixed, clearing the path for me, lighting my path, guiding me. So when all of a sudden I get an audition, oh, well, that's divine intervention. I mean, what else? When I book a show, divine intervention. When I receive my checks, I get paid or whatever, I get a blessing, any kind of blessing. It's always because of divine intervention. And I'm saying, why can parents look at the children that way, as how they are, blessings, instead of these things you gotta feed, things you gotta, educate, things you gotta, correct, things you gotta, pay for because they broke something. The whole, like in the movie and in that show, Wonder Years, how the dad comes home and all pissed off and everything. It's like, ugh, that is such a, to me, that always was like, if you didn't want the gig, you shouldn't have taken it. I don't feel sorry for people who made their choices and then they spend their whole life regretting it. It's like, do something about it. Either improve it or walk away. Like they say, shit or get off the pot. But don't just sit there like, well, I'm here. It's like people do exactly the same thing when they show up to their jobs. They do the same thing. They sit down, or they show up and it's like, I'm here. It's like, oh, thank you for blessing us with your presence. It's like, you're getting paid to do this job. If you don't like this job, get another one. And if you don't like that other one, it's probably because you need to follow your follow your heart so you can find the job that you want. And that means that you don't have the courage to find the job that you really, really want, or to go for those goals and dreams that you really, really want, and you're just getting soured and you're just letting everybody pay for it. Like I said, it never sat well with me. It was like, well, I'm unhappy, so everybody's going to have to pay the price. Ugh, excuse me? I lived with a lot of people like that. My family was like that. I ended up with people like that, marrying into people, into families where people behave that way. They were just big babies, petulant children. And the reason why I say that is because we've all have baggage. We all have scars. But some of us do something about it. And other people just sit there and it's like, well, this is the reason why I'm angry. And because I went through that, you all have to put up with it. I mean, if you really love me, you have to put up with it. And they will terrorize the family. They will be the people that is like, oh, don't say that around Jim, because he gets pissed off. And everybody walks with tiptoes around these people. I always make it a point to disrupt their game. This is why I've gone through so much, because a lot of people, when you confront those types, when you don't give them their way, you become the enemy. And then they come after you because you're the guy who's, pointing out all their flaws. You're the guy who's going to ruin their little deal they got going on there, that is like, yeah, everybody listens to me. If this guy keeps questioning me in front of all these people, forget it, I'm gonna lose control. So they make me into an example, and it's gotten really bad because I'm like, sometimes I have to remind myself, shut up, because this is how you end up with enemies. But sort it. I've been like this since the beginning. I'm not meant to go with, like preserve these crazy routines or crazy traditions. It's like, no, I'm calling you out because I'm, what did I used to call myself? A system buster. I'm the system buster. And I used to refer to it because of, in martial arts, how people get so infatuated with one style and things like that. There are no styles, and there's only one style, and that's the style that you have, but I used to say you have to stay away from all systems, and I used to call myself a system buster. But in essence, I am a system buster of any system that stops people from expressing themselves, or maybe it's a system that harms people, and everybody's just gonna gets with it, like it gets in line behind it, like it's like, well, it's like, no, it doesn't have to be this way. because it's not right for you, and these people shouldn't be doing it to you, and then I start calling out the people, and then I get in trouble with the people that I'm calling out, and then the attacks began and whatnot, so I just don't like people abusing other people or taking advantage of them and making it look like, oh, it's your duty to put up with my shit. It's like, no, 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 no. You are not God. So get off that throne you've set yourself on and go learn something, because, this little part you're playing, that you're the boss, you're the king, you're the, no. No. You're the leader of. No, I had to deal with a lot of those types, and I have the scars to show it. Some people, are nasty, and they recur to nasty ways to retaliate, because what they're losing, what I'm pointing out, they hold it very dear. This is their world of power. This is where they reign. So ever since my grandmother, I never liked people like that. Basically narcissist, egotistical people who don't care about anybody else but what they want out of everybody. Like, oh, you got to take care of me. I mean, if I told you how many times I heard my grandmother and my father say that to me, to us children, like, oh yeah, when you guys get older, you're gonna take care of me. I'm like, did you ask me? I mean, I know this is what the tradition is, but why should I put my life on hold? Besides, you haven't been the nicest person in the world. How am I gonna take care of you when you never took care of me? You see? So this is not what I spoke about in the in the last video, which but it has to do a lot with the reason why I am the way I am, because of the things that I saw. I saw narcissistic types, psychopaths, basically rule a family and make everybody else believe, gaslighting everybody else into thinking that they were in the right and the rest of us were just crazy. And if you were to challenge their structure, you would become the enemy, and you would pay the price. You would be, shunned or kicked out of the society, of the group. It's like you can't sit with us, type of thing. In your family, this is what I'm saying. That it's like people like that don't touch their heart. They don't even have a conscience about it. That is, am I hurting people? It's like that doesn't even compute. These people are so into themselves that it's like it's my way or the highway. So if you have anybody like that in your life, stay the hell away from them. It's funny because they always act like, oh, I'm not gonna talk to you if you don't do what I say. It's like, oh, thank you. Please, can you talk to me? Go, bye. So, like, you're taking something from me because you all of a sudden you decided not to talk to me, like you're punishing me. Good riddance, So this is why currently I don't have anybody in my life. It's like I've made the choice to just literally kick everybody out of my life that behaves that way. You say, oh, okay, well, you obviously don't see us having a relationship. You just see you kind of like manipulating me through our time together. So no, goodbye. I can do better alone. I can do very, very well alone. I don't need any kind of bad company with me. So yeah, you have to have your boundaries, because these people don't respect any. So anyway, I started speaking about this because again, if you don't have the patience to have children or to live with someone, then don't. Because the horrors that emit from from situations where someone has to be in control. I just remember what I heard just a few years back by someone who I love very dearly. I was talking to her about relationships, and she was telling me, well, mommy said that somebody has to be in control. Somebody has to be the boss. And I thought, well, a couple is a union. It's a 50-50 thing. If you find that your boyfriend is trying to tell you what to do, then it's no longer 50-50. He's trying to, be the boss. And it shouldn't be that way, baby. That advice went unheard. Or at least unregistered. But that's for another time. See, I've been dealing with these types all my life. So when I see them trying to invade the White House, I let you know. Because I saw this guy for miles. It's like, oh, because he does exactly the same thing that my father used to do. Sit us all at the table and be like, when we were at the dining room table, it was just like we were having dinner, and he just wouldn't shut up. He would eat like a pig. I told this guy, and he was always the most smart, the most athletic, the most macho, the most intelligent, the bravest, the coolest, the toughest. After a few years, you're like, oh, okay. You start to realize, okay, I think a lot of this is just BS. And when you see, what's his face, do what he does, I'm like, oh, that's just what my dad used to do. Doesn't anybody know? Nobody. I'm just like wondering, you guys are not familiar with this type of tactics? This is the Jim Jones type of stuff, the guy that wants you to, as the guy in the Mummy. I don't know if you remember the Mummy, with Brendan Fraser, when the big Egyptian soldiers come out and everything, they're going after the guys who, the guy who was financing the excavation, the bad guys, and finally the big soldiers are turned towards them, and so they're marching towards them, and the guy with the money, he's like big fat dude. It's like, quickly, he tells the workers, quickly, you must give your lives for me. You must render your lives for me, like defend me, protect me, And here comes these Egyptian warriors, trying to obliterate them, but it's type of like, these people behave that way. And it just so happens that a lot of people in my life were that way. They taught me about what human beings can do to their loved ones. Like, I'm sure you watched The Bear. Remember The Bear? And the 7 Fishes? Is it 7 Fishes or 12 Fishes? 7 Fishes, man. That episode, the Christmas episode, where everybody gathers. They have this freaking stellar cast. Show up. For that night, and then who was it? The lady. She plays a mom. She was in the kitchen drinking a lot and going off on everybody, and everybody was just like, "Oh, you just gotta stay away from the kitchen," because she gets upset. That's what I'm getting at. Watch that episode. It is crazy. And you probably will get triggered if you grew up like I did. And if you grew up like I did, you would go, that lady should get some therapy, because all of her kids, all of her family, it's like she's holding them hostage. They can't enjoy their lives. They're all messed up because this lady has messed them up because of the way she is. Watch that episode. Right after you stop watching this video, watch that episode. of the bear. It's 7 Fishes. I think it's 7 Fishes. It's a holiday episode. Watch it. It'll shock you. It'll make you cry. It'll make you get mad. It'll make you remember you did the right thing. These people are freaking savages and they don't deserve you. Because, I am talking to light workers. I am talking to people, who probably are indigo children or crystal children, and you were probably misunderstood. And you, with the wisdom that you brought from other lifetimes, you knew that all of that was wrong. And the whole time you sat there in shock, like, how can my mom behave this way? How can my grandpa behave this way? How can my aunt be this way? How can, she treat me this way? Because sometimes, because this develops patterns in a child that they later associate as, oh, that's love. Oh, that's family. So they end up in the same position that they started in, basically, because it feels like home. It feels like love. It feels, like the example of Jenny from Forrest Gump. The way she was raised, well, she thought, oh, well, that's love. So she would go looking for that in other men who would give her the same treatment her father gave her, which was that of beatings and, rapings and abuse, verbal and physical, mental. But for us children growing up in our formative years, being exposed to this, we start to mistake this for love. So then we go looking for people who give us exactly the same type of treatment. This is why I make these videos. To just alert people that, you didn't do anything wrong. You were just a kid. And the light that you've been carrying is been carrying you. And as long as you hold on to that, you'll never go wrong. Because in this universe, there are no orphans. There are no orphans. Regardless of what a civil status may say, there are no orphans because you have a Father in heaven and you're sitting right on your mother. You have a Mother Earth. So they take care of you. Your Father in heaven, your mother here, Earth. The angels are your family. You don't need anything else. See you next time.